Thanks for joining us yet again for Crypto Talks by 𝐊𝐿𝐴. I'm your host, 𝐲𝐬𝐴. And this year has seen more institutional investment into cryptocurrencies, with authorities now poised to set regulations for this growing sector, which has seen $2 trillion of funds invested into it. So we have sourced the highly sought after industry advocates to help demystify this disruptive decentralized finance space for you. So you may have already heard of today's guest, Mr. Torsten Hoffmann, the multi-award-winning producer, host and writer of Cryptopia film from 3D Content Hub Media. Welcome to the show, Torsten. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to this.
So you are a man of many talents, an author, filmmaker and more, now having produced 2 award-winning documentaries on the elusive cryptocurrency space. What was your inspiration behind producing these movies, and what impact do you believe your films have had on the space, please?
Yeah, well, I think I was inspired by just hearing about Bitcoin and also connecting that with my interest in new technologies, and I have a bit of a finance background, and I did work with many documentary makers before, so it all kind of fell together. Like, I have to make a documentary about it myself, because everybody who hears about Bitcoin the first time is going to say, "Oh, this is a scam. People just trying to get my money. This can never work," right? But for me, it was kind of a little bit quicker because of my background, and I thought there's a story worth telling. And you asked about the impact. Well, I think my first film, so Bitcoin, The End of Money as We Know It, from 2015, that was largely viewed on YouTube, even though we had a few TV deals, but YouTube was maybe the best platform, with, I don't know, maybe a total of 5, 6, 7 million views. And then the more recent Cryptopia, we have broadcast deals in about a dozen countries, so that would be hundreds of millions of TV homes. And it's very hard to say, how many actually watched, but it's doing very well also on digital platforms like Amazon.
We're so lucky to have you here with us to help us learn more about how this sector works. And Bitcoin has a finite supply with only 21 million blocks able to be mined. Can you help us understand how the value of Bitcoin is created? And do you think the miners have a role in creating value for cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, and just to double down on that fact, so 21 million coins, 21 million Bitcoins will ever be mined, and each 10 minutes is a block. So the number of blocks, I don't even know where we are. But so there's maybe 2 things to say here. So on a fundamental level, it's supply and demand, right? So a Bitcoin is worth however many dollars or rupees or euros or yen people are gonna wanting to spend on it. At the moment, right now, it's about $50,000 and you can do the math or just Google it in your currency. So there's a lot of value exchange, billions of dollars every day. So the value is what the market says the value is. But of course, we see overnight. So overnight today it jumped 5%, but we've also seen days where it drops 20%. So it's still highly volatile, and that's I think your question is really, really good, because the miners have to invest, right, to mine Bitcoin, so they use computing power and electricity, and they spend a lot of it because it's very energy hungry and very computer power intense. And some people say, well, our money supply, US dollars, aren't backed by anything because there's no gold backing it, right? But some like gold is backed by gold, by the physical gold, and maybe Bitcoin, you could argue, is backed by electricity and computing power, and which is kind of like, it makes sense, right? The miners eventually set sort of like a bottom floor price of Bitcoin, because if it's not worth enough, maybe they just switch off their mining gear, right?
Thanks very much. The price of Bitcoin was affected recently when China imposed their restrictions on the local mining networks, which caused the US mining companies in the US to increase their revenues due to the demand for mining space, and also impacted the price of Bitcoin, causing it to reduce. There seems to be a correlation. Can crypto mining indexes be used to help analyze the price of Bitcoin, or which way the price movement will go?
Yeah, no, well, I think it's impossible to kind of forecast on the short term. But I like how you point to the China question, because I mean, for years and years we've had the criticism in Bitcoin, the correct criticism that a lot of the mining power is concentrated in China, because that's where a lot of cheap energy is, and again, cheap energy means Bitcoin miners will flock there, and now China has effectively banned this practice, so these mining hardware or miners are migrating to other countries, especially America, Canada, and other places. So now it's actually become more decentralized. You could argue that this makes Bitcoin, the network, even stronger. Even though, I mean, already it is a decentralized network with hundreds of thousands of nodes. So it doesn't really matter that much. But I think it is a strength for the network, and I think China's making a huge mistake, because they are kind of losing a little bit of the future of money, right? I mean, you ban Bitcoin from your country, that's not going to go well for you.
No, not really, not with the popularity it's been gaining from the institutional investors this year. So there's Bitcoin and there's blockchain. Could you help us understand, please, the difference between the two?
Yeah, thanks for asking this, because people are sometimes confused, and it's good also for me to keep repeating it. Let's start with the miners. So what do the miners do? They basically work with the transactions. Sorry, let me start again. So the miners all around the world, they are processing transactions. That's essentially what they do, right? And they're kind of replacing the banks. So we don't need banks anymore. So we have miners, a decentralized network. So every one of these miners runs the same database, right? If you do a transaction to me or somewhere else, everyone has the same amount of information, yeah, plus minus, and that database is running globally, so nobody can hack it, nobody can influence it, because it's globally centralized, and that's what's called the blockchain. So the database that runs Bitcoin is called the blockchain. Now, you can't separate Bitcoin from blockchain because it's the same thing, but people have now used that invention, the blockchain, for other things, right? Other cryptocurrencies, other applications, other Web 3.0 or DeFi applications, but that's usually not Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is its own thing.
Could you help us understand, please, the difference between the two, and what was the purpose of developing the blockchain?
It's kind of interesting, because the common theme a lot of times is, once it gets regulated, the cryptocurrency prices will all drop, because at the moment it's the wild west. But to be honest, a lot of the biggest companies in that space, so look at blockchain.com or crypto.com or in Australia CoinJar or Binance or Coinbase, all these big cryptocurrency exchanges. I mean, they want regulation, they want clarity, because they want to sell their products to American customers, or they want to create ICOs that are legal in specific countries. So I think actually a lot of the industry, the professionals, are looking for more regulatory clarity.
And thanks for sharing your insights. We seem to be at a critical juncture, with many of the major economies of the world seeing the potential they have from the recent economic stimulus platforms globally. Many also believe that invention leads to innovation. How do you believe cryptocurrency will change the way the existing fiat system works? Do you think it's just a fad that will fade away with time?
Yes, well, I have a little bit here. That's good that we do a video interview, because I think that is something that clicked for me in 2014 when I made my first film. So the fiat money system is printing money out of nothing, and it goes more and more and more. It's a logarithmic exponential curve up, which means over the long run, the value of it goes down. That's what we call inflation, right? The purchasing power of our dollars goes down. We see it as rising prices, but it's the same thing, right? So Bitcoin was designed almost the opposite. So the supply curve goes down. We already have almost 19 million of those 21 million mined. So we're almost at the maximum end almost. Which in theory means over the long run, the price will increase, right? And that's why it's suddenly worth $50,000. When I made my first film, it was $200. So that's kind of the theory. The question is, does it bear out? I mean, does it really become more valuable as fiat currency continues to, print trillions of dollars out of nothing? So I do think it has a huge impact on the fiat system. I don't really think Bitcoin will replace the dollar, or Ethereum will, replace banks. But I mean, a lot of interesting things are happening in the background.
That's very, very true. I'm interested to see how blockchain will be used in the energy industry to increase liquidity in the economy, and not just for the people sitting at the top.
Very, very good point, because it's permissionless, right? So a little girl from Afghanistan can use the blockchain just as much, or Bitcoin just as much as you or I, or some rich, fat cat banker in Wall Street.
Exactly, and I'm loving the attitude and ideology of more democratization of the internet and maybe even the media. It seems like a very positive way forward. And just as we wind up the discussion, I wish we could have more time with you today, but cryptocurrency is thought to be the Silicon Valley of the 21st century and could possibly do for money what internet did for information. Could you tell us a bit more about your understanding of Web 3.0, please?
Yeah, that's exactly what we talked about just now. What other things can the blockchain be built upon? So we can replace banks. We explained how that works, but maybe we can replace the Googles, the Facebooks, the Amazons, or the Twitters as well, because these centralized big tech companies have become so powerful, right? They can influence elections. They can, get all our data and monetize us with better advertising. So can we maybe build networks that we control, right? That are user-owned, and that's kind of the idea between, let's say, the Brave browser, which is an internet browser that's decentralized. Well, it's still kind of centralized, but at least there's no evil big corporation in between. There's many activities about ID. Instead of using a Facebook ID, we can maybe use a blockchain-based, we can prove our identity with wallet addresses. New social media platforms are springing up. We can now see lots of interesting things in the creator economy, where artists or filmmakers even can sell NFTs directly to their user base or to their fan base instead of going through Amazon or something like that. So I think it's super interesting to watch. I'm super excited about the next couple, 3-4 years, and some of these applications will be mainstream. Again, I don't think it will replace Google, but there will be something different, right? Or I think we still will buy on a centralized Amazon or big shops, but still there will be other alternatives, maybe using cryptocurrencies as well.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And just on that note, do you have any insights on domain names? It seems it would work very well on the blockchain. Can you see domains moving onto the blockchain?
Yeah, 100%. It's a perfect example why maybe it's good to get rid of the middleman, because in the past, some websites have just been shut off because, censorship or a government didn't quite like what was on these websites. And now blockchain is being used to basically run your domains. It's called an ENS, in your Ethereum name service is the biggest one, and there might be others. And suddenly you can run your domain, whether it's a .com or .eth or .xyz, or there will be many, and you actually do control it. So that's exciting to watch. Thank you for pointing that out. That is true. Yeah.
And Torsten, any final comments you'd like to share before we wind up the discussion today?
Yeah, so I've been doing this for a while now, and people told me that my films are a good kind of introduction to the whole space. So have a look on YouTube, Bitcoin, the End of Money, have a look at Amazon or my website, cryptopiafilm.com, and spend an hour to kind of learn all the narratives, everything that's going on. And for independent filmmakers, just as for you as a journalist, it's really important to get feedback, to subscribe or to like or to write a little review that really helps other people find the content. So I would really appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for your time joining us, Torsten. We really appreciated your valuable insights on the elusive cryptocurrency space. And Viewers, thank you also for your time watching. Hopefully that's been informative for you. We just had a very interesting discussion with Mr. Torsten Hoffmann, the writer, producer and host of Cryptopia film from 3D Content Media Hub. And please stay watching 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV for more expert talks and live market updates. And as we say, stay apprised and invest wise with 𝐊𝐴𝐚.